Thank you so much, Shannon. So our final panel today is with experts and innovators from award-winning green ribbon schools in Pennsylvania, which I think is a great way to follow up with what Shannon just discussed. With us today, we have Sean Ryan, the Operations Supervisor at Spring-Ford School District. Let me go ahead and progress these slides. Mary Ann Boyer, co-founder of Boyer Sudduth Environmental Consultants, Tammy Peffer, who is an environment and ecology content advisor for the PA Department of Education and executive director of the PA Advisory Council on Environmental Education. And last but not least, Donnan Stoicovy, retired science teacher, principal, head of school, and Green Ribbon Award recipient. So we have a wonderful panel coming up here. Each panelist, again, will just take turns providing their presentations, and we will hold all of our questions until the end, where people can feel free to unmute or put things in the chat or Q&A feature. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce Tammy. Thank you so much for being here today.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get right to business so you can hear about the wonderful things that are happening at all of the schools. One of the things that I would like to do, though, is just say thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of this presentation. We have some amazing things going on across the state of Pennsylvania, and you're going to hear about some great successes in a few minutes, but we're also going to share some opportunities that are happening in the very near future. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so you heard mentioned earlier about the 3 pillars that are part of the Green Ribbon School program. And for some background, Pennsylvania Department of Education is the nominating agency for any schools that are applying for a Green Ribbon award. So any of you who are working on this with Women for a Healthy Environment or with some of our other partners across the state, there is an application process that can be found at the PA Pathways to Green Schools link on the Pennsylvania Department of Ed's website. And it gives you further information about each of these pillars. But what we are trying to do across the state is encourage schools to take this off in bites that are not going to choke them. And there are great partners like Women for a Healthy Environment and other partners in the Pennsylvania Pathways to Green School Network who are here to help you. The environmental impact and costs is one of the things that you can see most easily. But the health and wellness, those things that we were just talking about throughout the day, as well as having a sound curricular program, they're a little bit harder, and it's okay to ask for help. So if we could go to the next slide. Okay, so now go back. I have text for that. 1 second, please. Oh, I just lost my place on my notes. It's not unusual. Okay. We have 2 different slides running, I think. Okay. So part of what we do with the Green Pillar or Green Ribbon program is in Pennsylvania, we put in place several components that allow for recognition as you're walking along the pathway. These are for schools working with anyone pre-K, including early childhood, through 12th, into post-secondary, looking also at private, public, and CTE. There's some nomination restrictions that we have We're allowed to nominate up to one private school. We can have multiple public schools. We can have one secondary, post-secondary program. If we have more in a certain category, we have to provide evidence that they are a school district at risk, serving special or addressing ESSA levels or environmental justice levels or certain demographic groups. And those are requirements set not by Pennsylvania, but those are embedded in the Department of Ed's program. Our applications usually open in the fall, usually around September. They close in early January. And then what happens is PDE goes through a process of reviewing the applications, firming up the nomination packages, and then by early February, we are required to submit the packages. We usually hear about, it's not always just said and done. There's sometimes some discussion. There might be questions. Maybe the school might have to provide a little bit more information. And the Department of Ed for Pennsylvania and the Department of Ed for the United States works very well together to make sure that everything is going as needed. And if there's some question, we try to clarify it rather than just saying no or just saying, we give feedback throughout. One of the other things that you need to know is that there's usually 2 recognition ceremonies that happen with this. There's a national level one that happens in Washington, D.C. And then there's also a new state one that we've revitalized. We also have embedded, you can go to the next slide. We have embedded multiple steps of recognition in partnership with programs that have come out of the Department of Ed, the Conservation of Natural Resources and Environmental Protection, and agriculture. We've added components for special recognition related to works in environmental justice areas, ag education, climate change, etc. Next, please. As you're walking along the pillars, we have lots of mentors and resources across the state of Pennsylvania, from the manual, the Integrated Pest Management Manual, to the Find EE Near Me group. A lot of Pennsylvania is doing work related to a program that Steve mentioned earlier called the MeWe, Meaningful Watershed Educational Experience. In the requirements of the Chesapeake Bay Watershed Agreement, which is applied across the entire state in the Pennsylvania's Environmental Literacy Plan, we have included all of the educational goals in the Chesapeake Bay Watershed Agreement to the entire state of Pennsylvania. And it has also been included in the new Science, Technology and Engineering and Environmental Literacy and Sustainability standards that were just passed. But I mentioned an environmental literacy plan, and this is one of the tools that, in hand with NOAA, we have developed to support schools as they are looking to become green ribbon schools and also to improve their environmental literacy efforts. As we are looking at this, if you go to the next slide, please. As we are looking, we ask the schools to do several things. We really need them to know more than just their student demographics. We need to know where they are in their place, in their world, in their neighborhood. So we actually have structured developing out a character statement for the school, identification of partners. Women for a Healthy Environment's one of those fantastic partners that can be in here. We have them look at each of the pillars. We give them ideas, and then we also help provide structure for the curriculum development. So they can identify areas in which they could carry threads and strands throughout. Next slide, please. Every year we have some great honorees, and even throughout COVID, thanks to the help of women, Women for a Healthy Environment and other partners, we were able to still get schools to apply. We had Gwynedd Mercy in 2020. We had Commonwealth Charter School and Hance Elementary in 2021. And then if you go to the next level, we had Shippensburg in 2021 and Lehigh as well. And then we have another special school who's going to be presenting. So I didn't exclude them from the 2021-2022 award group because you're going to hear firsthand what they did. One of the things that I want to do though is emphasize, if you go to the next slide, is that big buildings aren't the end all and be all. Lots of schools can do this just starting at where they are. And I want to go to my next slide, please, where we're going to talk very quickly about one of the greatest successes that we've had in Pennsylvania, and it's still growing. So way back, I think it was 2016, Philadelphia School District, not just one school, was a district award winner. And I think that's really important to recognize because they have one of the most complex school systems in the state of Pennsylvania. And they have worked to develop a pretty much multi-pronged program that is carried off across the schools. They are now going back school by school slowly to begin trying to get each of those individual schools recognized as a green ribbon school and highlighting their special programs in there as well. Next slide, please. Okay. They look at using programs like Education for Sustainability, which is a program that comes out of the Cloud Institute. They very thoroughly evaluate their consumption and waste. They're always looking for new resources. Energy and efficiencies, they're always trying to improve. And not every school building has moved along the pathway yet, which is why we're trying to provide continued support. But one of the things that nearly every school is working on doing is finding green space and greenscapes. So it's a lot of work. And they've been building this, so it was 2017, I apologize, and continuing to promote. They are now rewriting the program because they know that in order to maintain their sustainability, they have to adapt with the times as well. So it's not a set once and done thing either. You can jump ahead to 2 slides, if you could. I want to give the other people time. One of the things that they highly recommend and that you'll hear these other people talking about is having a planning team, working together. You have a trinity or quartet of people of types of personnel who need to be involved in this. And students should be extremely involved in this process. We get ranked on that when they're looking at it for USDOE. So I am going to pass this off to show you, and I don't know if I'm going to be jumping the gun. We can do questions and answer later at the end. But I'd like you to hear now from Sean Ryan, who is with the Springford Area School District. They have some amazing work going on there and they keep building and growing more, and congratulations for 2021-22.
Thank you, Tammy. And good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me today. My name is Sean Ryan, and I'm the Supervisor of Operations for the Springford Area School District. And I'm here today to talk to you about the efforts Springford has made to positively impact the environment and more importantly, the steps we have taken to educate our students and community on the environmental impact they can have, and in turn effectively create a change in culture. So now, before I dive into that, I did want to tell you a little bit about ourselves. So the Springford Area School District is located in the western central portion of Montgomery County, with our main campus being located in Royersford, PA. Our district is part of a growing community of approximately 51,000 residents, spanning a footprint of 45 square miles. And we're home to just under 8,000 students, who of which we hope to champion our environmental sustainability efforts in the years to come. So Tammy did a great job of laying out the foundation of what the 3 pillars are. So I don't really need to dive into that. What I am going to talk to you today about is how the 3 pillars relate to the efforts we have made here at Springford. So I've been here at Springford a little over 2 years. And when Bob Hunter, our director of facilities, and I were approached to begin the green ribbon application process, I knew as a district we were environmentally friendly. I knew we were doing our part to help the environment, but as I began to compile the data and the information, I actually couldn't believe the amount of different ways we were making an impact. Across the district, every department was making a difference, and the more I dove into it, the more systems and processes I found that Springford has already had in place. So let me tell you some of the ways that we work to make a difference. So if you want to jump to the next slide. So our efforts to reduce environmental impact and costs. So in this section, I'll discuss a little of how greenhouse gas emissions, energy consumption and conservation, recycling, reduction in toxic chemicals, and water conservation. So if you want to jump to the next slide, please. So we recognize the harmful effects that carbon-based emissions can have on the environment. And as a district, we have continued to grow. So as the district has continued to grow, so has our commitment to helping the environment. Our 3 most recent school additions were built with geothermal HVAC plants, which produces up to 85% less carbon dioxide emissions than gas or oil-fired plants. Geothermal systems also take advantage of stored solar energy in the ground, which reduces energy costs for heating and cooling. Springford has adopted Board Policy 817, which is our Energy Conservation Act, which focuses on energy conservation through delegation of responsibility and guidelines for energy management. An example of this energy management is our HVAC building automation system. So this system is programmed with predetermined operating times and temperature set points during occupied and unoccupied periods, which greatly reduce and temper our energy usage. In 2021, we completed a preliminary energy benchmarking exercise in preparation for our ESCO companies to participate in a Guaranteed Energy Savings Act project RFP. The ESCO's identified system upgrades such as fluorescent to LED conversions, recommissioning of the building automation systems, HVAC equipment replacement, and improvements to the building envelope, which will significantly reduce our energy consumption. The energy conservation measures are targeted to greatly reduce our electrical, natural gas, and carbon dioxide impact per year. And some exciting news, our school board actually approved the Giza project, and we're actually going to be ramping up this summer. So it's very exciting times here. So also in 2021, we reestablished the Energy Star Portfolio Manager account and have partnered with Pico Energy and now use their Pico Smart Energy Usage tool, which automatically uploads all utility data for the district into the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. This is critical. It's for long-term sustainability of our energy conservation initiatives. We now have the ability to measure utility usage consistently and will help us develop benchmarks and targets to maximize energy conservation. And one of the fun things we do here is we participate in an energy curtailment demand response program. So what that does is we're required twice a year to reduce our electrical load when notified during peak demand in the summer and winter months. And over the last 8 years, we've actually received over $600,000 in rebates for participating in that. So with recycling, we understand how much of an impact recycling can have, not just in our community, but to the world. Recycling helps maintain oxygen levels, reduces landfill usage, conserves energy, and protects our ocean. Also, in an attempt to make a larger impact, we've invited our local community members to utilize our paper recycling containers. This past year alone, we recycled approximately 45 tons of paper products, plastic products, different things. So reduction in toxic chemicals. So we continue to hold our cleaning standards and safety protocols to the highest level. The Springford cleaning standards are focused on minimizing the use of hazardous chemicals, utilizing energy efficient equipment, reduction of water consumption, and utilizing 100% recycled toilet paper and paper towels. And Springford has adopted 100% Green Seal certified cleaning products. This program includes training for all custodial staff on the proper use and application of chemicals. The Green Seal certification ensures that chemicals in use are friendly to humans and the environment by eliminating dangerous VOCs and toxic chemicals. In addition to safer chemical compositions, a Green Seal certification guarantees that the production, distribution, and packaging of chemicals also meets rigid standards of sustainability. So some of our water conservation acts that we have, so to reduce the amount of water wasted to help promote a green environment in the building, we've taken some steps to educate students on proper hand washing techniques, as well as for flushing, using the restroom to increase efficiency. All Springford buildings have been equipped with low flow toilets and urinals. So older toilets, they can use up to as much as 5 to 6 gallons per flush. With our low flush, we're actually saving about 2.5 gallons of water per flush, which adds up over time. So if you want to jump to the next slide, please. So pillar 2, our efforts to improve the health and wellness of students and staff, discuss some of our integrated pest management, indoor environmental air quality, and outdoor learning spaces. So Springford adopted if you want to jump to the next slide, sorry. Springford adopted board policy 716, which is our integrated pest management program, which focuses on long-term prevention of pests through a combination of techniques such as biological control, habitat manipulation, modification of cultural practices. Pest control materials are selected and applied in a manner that minimizes risk to human health, non-target organisms, and the environment. So our indoor environmental quality is important to our students in the learning environment we provide them. We conduct, and actually Tammy touched on this too, we conduct annual indoor environmental quality inspections through our environmental consultant. The IEQ assessments include a visual assessment of rooms and mechanical ventilation units for moisture intrusion, microbacterial growth, which is the M word, we don't like to talk about that, and debris buildup. The inspection also collects ambient environment data, so carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, relative humidity, dew points, temperatures, and collection of total VOCs measurements. These independent inspections validate our work in providing clean buildings with proper functioning ventilation systems. Some of our buildings have outdoor learning spaces, which include outdoor classrooms, nature walks, ponds, butterfly gardens, and courtyards. Coming from the Reading School District, we didn't have as many of those, where at Springford here, it's pretty amazing some of the things we have to offer. One of which is our Springford Memorial Arboretum, which is the pictured there, and the next slide then too. The 9th grade center has our Memorial Arboretum that is maintained by students and our grounds team. It was identified as an area of need in the 2014 school year, and we partnered with community businesses to add a patio, outdoor seating area, water feature, and educational signage. It's located behind our 9th grade center, and actually it was constructed in honor of our district alumni and community residents. So, and if you want to jump to the next slide, please. Pillar 3 are our efforts to ensure effective environmental and sustainability education. So in this, I'll talk a little bit about our students and how Springford is educating and working with them to increase our positive environmental impact. Next slide, please. So some of the areas that we work on with our students is our environmentally responsible approaches. So in our advanced geology, we examine the geological conditions needed to trap oil, natural gas, and coal, as well as current extraction techniques. All methods lend themselves to conservation and fracking and extraction done right. In other words, we need to mine the coal and natural gas and oil, but should do so in an environmentally friendly manner. Reconditioning of salvaging items. So our engineering course created an activity where students must solve a problem: how to recondition an object that would otherwise be thrown away. The objective is to prevent salvageable objects from entering a landfill. So examples, broken devices are electrical outlet covers, duct system connectors, damaged soap dispensers. So just taking those items and trying to find better or other uses for. Coastal erosion. So students' discussions regarding coastal erosion and sand replenishment, specifically as it pertains to the Jersey shoreline. Students also examine groundwater contamination in our school district and the problems and challenges we face to ensure our drinking water and groundwater are safe. So Springford utilizes a variety of teaching and assessment methods to provide students an opportunity to learn and discuss topics related to the environmental sustainability. So we have several club options for our older kids, 7 through 12, some of which Science Club, Arboretum Club, Interact Club. The elementary schools have a lot of groups as well. So there's several opportunities for our hands-on authentic learning throughout the district. Many examples are identified above, with such as designing house utilization, sustainability, energy methods. Students in chemistry class conduct a lab and research projects that examines contaminants in water and potential causes for these contaminants. We also have our RAMQuest program, which stems into all core areas. Students develop ideas, research, test findings when collaborated. So, I mean, at the end of this, so what did I learn from the Green Ribbon application process? Well, first off, I want to say thank you and how incredibly grateful I am for all the hard work and assistance from Tammy. Kind of started off, didn't really know where we were going with this, and she really helped us through the process and helped me realize all the great things we were doing here. Thank you to Shannon and Ava for going through this process with them. So it really showed me how much of a difference that one person, one district, one community can make, and if they put their mind to it. There are a lot of great people, and as you've seen throughout the course of the day, a lot of great resources and people that are willing to help you along your journey. You just need to be willing to ask for help. So I'm excited to see the fruits of our labor. You know, like, where's Doc Brown and his DeLorean? Like, I would love to jump 20 years in the future and just see like where we are and where we are as a district. So thank you for your time. And I do need to find out from Shannon and Ava where they snagged that photo of me, because that was Sean from like 15 years ago. So, but again, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. That was a great presentation. We will now pass it off to Donnan. Go ahead and take it away.
Great. Thank you, Shannon. I can't tell you how impressive it is to hear from Sean, because it's really key in a school district to have your physical plant person as well as your manager of the physical plant. Sorry, whatever your title is, Sean, I apologize, but they are key people, as well as the people in your cafeteria manager, as well as the school district person who's in charge of food service. And so it's really important to make sure that they are part of your team. So I'm Donnan Stoicovy. I'm a retired educator. I've had the fortune of having 2 of my schools become Green Ribbon schools. The first one in 2016, we received the Green Ribbon. Next slide. We received the Green Ribbon Award for Park Forest Elementary. I'm not going to read this slide to you, but you know, a lot of what we believed in our school is that you really need to connect students' learning to the world outside. And so it's really important to engage them, to have them have authentic learning experiences that provide engagement through choice, and that their voices are amplified. We want every student to be a steward of the environment. Next slide, please. And that was in 2016. And then I retired at the end of 2016 because I felt like I reached the peak, and then realized I wasn't done. So our local Friends School had an opportunity for a head of school, which I didn't realize it wasn't just a principal. It was also the facilities manager. All of those things were wrapped into the position. So in 2019, we received the Green Ribbon Award, and the school had a lot of things already going. I just tried to help fine tune some things, work with teachers, kind of pull things together. And so as a Quaker school, they're grounded by testimonies that are called the SPICES, which stand for simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and stewardship. Great qualities to live by. And so so the stewardship aspect is a lot of what we worked on, and we really wanted our students to ultimately become change agents for within their classroom, the local community, and even beyond that, the global community. Next slide. So we told you you'd hear about all these again and again. So here's the reducing environmental impact. And so next slide, I'm going to share what at Park Forest Elementary, we're going to show a video at the end of what we did with the zero waste. But I'm going to talk a little bit about using the physical plant director at our school and having him take our students on a tour of the building and showing them about energy. And then ultimately the students said to him, well, why do we have all these lights? And are they LED? And so they were converted to LED. And then they shut off a bank of lights, and then they shut off some other lights. And so, you know, having students engaged and using their voices, we reduced the energy use. And we also, one of the students said, I've heard of Energy Star. Is that somebody that can come and audit what we're doing? And physical plant person worked with us to have that happen. And ultimately, we reduced significantly amount of energy that we used. So, and here's some other things. I'm not going to read all those, but we really worked to reduce what we were doing. Next slide. Then at Friends School, I helped them acquire a system so that they could collect their waste products. And then we worked with the Center County Recycling Center, and they helped us with acquiring some of those. Penn State had recycled those, and so they had them. And so our kids painted them, they spruced them up. Kids knew exactly what they were, and they made signs for us. And the other thing that we did was we had West Penn Power. We worked with West Penn Power Sustainable Energy Fund. And we originally had solar panels put on the school in 2013, and they were pretty old by 2019. And so we wrote a grant, and so we had new panels installed, much more efficient. We were doing a much better job with reducing our energy use and converting to solar. And our students also got involved in moving from fluorescent and incandescent bulbs and moved to LED. Next slide. So health and wellness at Park, next slide. We really focused on, here's a number of different things, but we had school gardens. And the thing that I always heard about school gardens is, what are you going to do over the summertime? You plant them in the spring and then nobody's there. We worked closely with our PTO. We had folks who signed up on a weekly basis to come and do school garden maintenance. If anything was ripe, they were able to take it. In the fall, we were able to use the classrooms took over from that point. And we had the school kitchen used our vegetables to serve during lunchtime. So it was really a pretty awesome thing. At State College Friends School, next slide. We also used the garden, and a lot of what we did with our gardens that we had was we donated them to the food to the local food bank, because our students bring their own lunch to school. And the other thing that I would add is that the picture there is we were involved in the MeWe program, and our students learned where our water goes. And so, you know, they're right here, they're taking care of a system. They're taking care of the decorating it so that people would realize that that water goes somewhere else. It's not just a place to dump things. Next slide. And then the last one is effective environmental and sustainability education. And so really making things authentic and is really, really important. And, you know, having kids have those real world engagement opportunities, getting them civically engaged, not being afraid to use their voices. Next slide. So when we went to, Tammy talked about the Department of Education having a presentation when we got our PDE award. They had a display out. They had places for people to put their displays out. And so we shared some of the things that were going on in our school that amplified all what our good work in ecological citizenship, environmental education, and sustainability. Next slide. And then at Friends School, obviously we have our testimonies, and we had a teacher who was very intimately involved in the MIWI. And then our students were the ones who brought climate action to us. Our third and fourth graders wrote a play about climate action and about what they wanted to see happen in the school. And then they also, every Friday, this was when they asked that schools and have some sort of climate action every Friday. Our students gave up their recess time and went out front of the school and had signs, and they waved to cars that went by and talked about, shared their climate action. Next slide. So some awards that our school received: the Professional Recyclers of Pennsylvania. These are groups that you can also have help you with what you're doing. Our Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority was key to us. We didn't know there was a Women for a Healthy Environment at the time in 2016. They were probably around, but we didn't know that. And so we worked really hard to collaborate with them, and we received their award, their Emerald Award, which was the highest award that you can receive for being a green business that recycles. And then we received our Healthy Schools Award from Pennsylvania PDE, and then the Green Ribbon Award. And then these four young men in this picture, we wrote up what they had done, and they received the Presidential Award. So that was from EPA. Next slide. And then the State College Friends School did the same thing, and then they followed our path, becoming an Emerald Award winner, getting the PDE Award, and then the Green Ribbon Award. And so I helped my addition to the school was really to formalize a lot of things, which was really cool to see them celebrate the successes. Next slide. And then it's really important to do professional development with your teachers. And this is a picture from us meeting at Penn State's Arboretum and working with community partners to talk about things that we could do. Next slide. Some resources that I'll share. Not going to particularly go into them, other than our school is featured in Civic Education in the Elementary School and Moving the Classroom Outdoors. Herb Broda came and took pictures of some of the neat things that we were doing with our outdoor learning area. Next slide. And some resources. They asked that we share some of these. And you've heard about MIWI, so we're going to click on, and you're going to see our Road to Zero Waste. This tells a lot. It's through the kids' voices.
Please do give me like a thumbs up, panelists, if you can hear this video.
Yep.
Welcome to Park Forest Elementary, home of the PFB PACE. We're located in central Pennsylvania, and we're a kindergarten through 5th grade building in the State College Area School District. Our learning community is comprised of approximately 500 students and up to 100 faculty and staff members. We are the 2016 Green Team. Come inside to show you all the exciting things we've done on our Road to Zero Waste and other sustainability activities we've done. We are proud of what we do at PFB, and we make sure everyone knows it. You're reminded to ask the question. Schools, let's show everyone how we got this far on our Road to Zero Waste, so that their schools can do it too.
PFE student then asked the question.
Can Park Forest Elementary ever achieve zero waste?
Our principal pondered this for a moment and then replied,
We will never know unless we try.
and thus PFE's journey on the road to zero waste began.
Giving up their recess and staff planning time, the PFE Green Team met each week to assess our current waste management practices and set goals for improvement. The Green Team decided that we needed to make our learning community stop and think before discarding an item. We developed an educational campaign with the slogan of "Are you sure?" This campaign has challenged students and staff to reduce their waste and to properly dispose of items that can be repurposed or recycled. In October of 2012, students and staff collaborated with Pennsylvania State University waste management professionals, conducting a waste audit to understand PFE's waste stream. Waste professionals and visitors conducted a fresh eyes tour of our building. Building visitors provided additional feedback. We wanted to find out what recycled materials were in the waste. We discovered that food waste made up half our waste stream. Other items were considered landfill waste, made up nearly 1/4 our waste. Now we needed a way to collect and separate these items. We thought carefully about the types of containers we needed and where the best place for them was to maximize capture rates. We replaced large trash cans with recycling bins and smaller waste receptacles in each classroom. Green Team members move these recyclables and sort the material at our zero waste zones. At first, our zero waste zones included only recyclable materials that Center County collects, such as paper, plastic, and metal cans. Over the past few years, we have added many other items to our zone. Volunteers take these additional items to various other outlets for recycling. PFE students and staff can now recycle many items, including TerraCycling. PFE has participated in many recycling brigades: juice pouches, writing utensils, dental care items, tape dispensers, glue sticks, and solo cups. The profits from these brigades have allowed PFE to purchase 2 water bottle filling stations. Water bottle filling stations have saved over 43,000 bottles from the landfill since they were installed less than 2 years ago. That is a big savings in the petroleum used to make the bottles, not to mention reducing the need for transporting the discarded materials to the recycling center or landfill. We also realized from our waste sort that we were wasting a lot of paper towels at PFE. Inspired by a TED Talk, we taught the whole school how to shake and fold.
So be one with us to reduce paper towel trash at PFE by doing this.
Using only 1 towel when we dry our hands. PFE has reduced the amount of paper towels by 26 cases per year.
Well, it looks like this.
What's that?
A lot of paper towels.
What's even better is that the paper towels we used are now composted at a local facility. So none of this waste is traveling 80 miles to just sit in a landfill. In 2013, we determined to get all of the food waste out of the landfill. We started sorting our waste in our lunchroom. With no money in the budget, the Green Team designed our first sorting station. It was simple, but it worked. This was our first sorting station looked like.
Bags of waste a day. Now we only produce 2 bags of waste a day. This is better.
Always trying to do better. This year we reached out to local professionals for help. Penn State Salvage donated a used recycling center to our school. Our custodian repurposed this unit into a custom sorting station, just the right size for our students. Staff at our local recycling authority helped us make new signs to help our younger classmates. Sorting our waste is easy to do and doesn't take much time at all. The best part is that the only waste we send to the landfill are silver-lined packages, straws, and milk cartons. Food services stopped using disposable serviceware, returning to reusable items. In addition, straw and napkin dispensers were purchased to reduce overconsumption. Custom lunch disposal system, organic recycling, and zero waste zones. PFE was able to achieve 85% diversion rate. This has a result in lowering dumpster hauls from 5 to 2 times per week, and landfill waste disposal bills from $534 to $261 per month. We are also working with our local recycling center to find a way to recycle all of those milk cartons. PFE's zero waste numbers are encouraging. In 2015, PFE recycled 1,695 pounds of plastic bottles, 470 pounds of metal cans, and 9,660 pounds of mixed paper, and composted 36,257 pounds of material. This is over 24 tons of diverted waste. 3 methods of composting are employed as means of diversion and education: vermicomposting for classroom waste, container composting for garden waste, and commercially collected lunchroom organic waste, averaging 1.5 tons per month. The resulting compost for these methods is used on the school grounds and gardens. PFE is also doing our part to help the community and reuse resources where possible. Book donation stations and the Little Free Library encourage the sharing of resources among students and the community. Our classes also collects books for the African Book Project. They have set a goal of collecting 1,000 books to build a library for children in Swaziland. Of course, it is great to be recognized for all of our hard work. Here are some of the awards we have received on our zero waste journey. We have received a Waste Watcher Award from the Professional Recyclers of Pennsylvania since 2010, recognizing the steps that we have taken to improve our waste management plan. Very closely with Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority to improve our recycling efforts. We are proud to be one of their recognized green business partners. Park Forest Elementary received one of 3 Emerald Awards from Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority. This award was for our exceptional efforts in waste management. We were proud to be leaders in our county. In 2014, we got to have a bit of fun while raising recycling awareness in our school and community. We participated in a plastic bag recycling challenge with other district elementary schools and partners such as Wise Market, Trex Lumber, and Lowe's. PFE took top honors for recycling the greatest amount of plastic bags and film over an 8-week period. We collected 1,500 pounds of plastic film to be sent to Trex to be recycled into composite lumber. We were excited to win composite lumber bench from Trex, composite lumber to build a garden bed from Lowe's, compost made from our very own organic recycling programs from State College Borough, and seed money from Wise Markets to use in our garden. More importantly, PFE helped to bring the message home that more than just grocery bags can be returned to the store for recycling. We helped to educate our community about plastic film recycling. I was waiting on the other side. It's the clock. We have been mentioned in several national blogs, such as National Wildlife Federation, A Bag's Life, and PA Green and Healthy Schools. Hoping to earn honors as U.S. Green Ribbon School this year.
We have come so far in our road to zero waste in the past 4 years. We hope we have inspired students across the nation to set their own waste reduction goals.
We hope the work we have started here at PFE will help future students reach the goal of zero waste.
We also know that the journey to zero waste is a reward in itself. Each one of us can make it. Together, we can make it.
Thank you very much. So 85% of our waste was diverted, and it was an amazing accomplishment. So, and that may give you some ideas if you're curious about that. So in the end, we'll conserve only what we love, we'll love only what we understand, and we'll understand only what we are taught. Really important to remember those things. And next slide. And there's my contact if anybody wants, after today, wants to reach out and get any support or help that I can offer. So our next speaker is Mary Ann Boyer, and she's going to talk about a resource that she helps provide to help schools achieve Green Ribbon School. So take it away, Mary Ann. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Donnan. You're a tough act to follow. In fact, everybody with seeing all those great examples. So thank you, Ava and Shannon, for organizing this. And it's been wonderful seeing what Sean's doing at Springford and Donnan, and then having the overview from Tammy. So I'm going to try and pull it together and in summary, and give you some tips to lead green change at your school. So if I could have the next slide, please. Overview, I'm going to just tell you briefly who Boyer Sudduth is. As I said, I'm Mary Ann Boyer. I'm with Boyer Sudduth Environmental Consultants. I'll then talk about the tips to lead green change. I'll use a case study of Reading High School in Berks County, Pennsylvania, and then also share with you some lessons learned. So next slide, please. So in 2015, I, along with Ann Sudduth, started Boyer Sudduth. As I said, we're environmental consultants. We work with schools and businesses to help them become more environmentally sustainable. We work in areas of project management, helping to take a green team forward at a school, or write a sustainability plan, or just kind of help really change the culture of really highlighting environmental sustainability. We also do professional development and coaching and communications. Prior to consulting, I taught science for 16 years, mostly middle school science. I actually like the drama of middle school. and then before that, I was an environmental scientist at EPA in Philadelphia, and I have my master's in environmental science. So I kind of totally geek out on all things environmentally sustainable. Next slide, please. So I like to kind of start to just, you've seen these wonderful examples from the other presenters, but just to kind of capture the sustainability impact areas of how they really reach so many different areas in a school or in a business, from climate change to, we saw the Zero Waste Heroes at Park Forest Elementary with waste and consumption, energy, sustainable foods, schoolyard habitats, water, biodiversity, health, transportation. So it really is such a sustainability, is really so impactful in so many areas. And I just recommend that if you're starting at your school, to pick one area and begin there. Next slide, please. We found that when we work with schools, the third-party certification has been the catalyst for change, rather than one or two people saying, I really want to become more environmentally sustainable. So you've heard all about the Department of Education's Green Ribbon Schools. I like to just also, if your school is not ready to kind of get there, maybe you're just starting out in environmental sustainability, you might want to consider eco schools, bottom left, that through National Wildlife Federation. That actually does complement the Green Ribbon Schools, but it's a good way to kind of get started. So National Wildlife Federation, if you had Ranger Rick magazines as a kid, that's of course National Wildlife Federation. So Eco Schools is a tiered level of 3 levels that you can pick one of those impact areas from that slide I showed you previously, and they have a 7-step process, which I'll share with you. We also have worked with schools in the cafeteria to become green restaurant certified as well, based on meeting certain requirements from energy and the way they have their menu, water use, et cetera, waste. And then, of course, there are schools and buildings that have are U.S. Green Buildings certified through LEED certification. But the third-party certification really is a great way to get to really have movement at your school. Next slide, please. So I mentioned the 7-step process that EcoSchool uses, and I really like this because regardless of whether you're doing eco schools or not, this is just a great way to kind of think about getting started. So we heard about forming a green team or sustainability committee, and you saw the data collection. You've seen some examples of that. I think that's really important because one of the businessmen, Paul Drucker, says you can't manage what you can't you can't manage what you can't measure. So in other words, you need to kind of measure, find the baseline of whatever it is that you're trying to change at your school, whether it's waste or energy or even improving your schoolyard habitat. Developing an action plan, the who, what, where, when, monitoring the progress and results, kind of going back if there's some things that aren't working, making adjustments there. And then I have 5 and 6 along the bottom. You want to make sure that this is continually, the work that you're doing is linking to the school's mission, values, curriculum, that you're involving the community, and then importantly, that you're communicating, rewarding, and celebrating your success. Next slide, please. So I have 4 tips to lead change, and I'll create a sustainability green team, and I'll go back to the collecting and tracking data, and then number 3, starting small with the snowball effect to generate momentum. And you want to start with some achievable wins, and then also really tell your story. So, we've had examples here of schools that have really made a difference. They're telling their story, and we all need good news. And so this is a great opportunity to kind of let your school shine. Next, please. Creating a broad team. So Sean from the facilities team is a good example of like being part of a broad team. So we make sure that in addition to faculty and students, that you have your custodial, your facilities team, your admin team, your cafeteria team as well, your business office. Some of the green teams involve the parents. And so this is really important to kind of make sure you get a broad basis, and you want to really go with where your passion is for the school, for the team. Next slide. Okay, so this is a build. So the first one is collecting and tracking data. So I'm using this as an example of waste again. And this was a school we worked with that to reduce waste in general in the cafeteria. And then the IT guy said, hey, I really want to look at paper use. So we collected that. He had data from May 2016, and you can see on the y-axis, that's the printers, and then along the x-axis is the paper use. So we have the blue is May 2016. We then had a whole campaign. We kind of applied those 7 steps to make some changes. And then 1 year later in red, you can see that the paper use, there was a 31.1% drop in paper use. So how did they do it? Well, just one example is making the ties to the curriculum. The IT person had the real world data. The 7th grade math teacher used that data with her students, and she had her students create infographics of like what would, for example, what would the paper use. If you can click on Ava, I have an example of one of the infographics. So here's one of the examples that a 7th grader did, looking at, oh, wow, we use 660. Well, we have used so many sheets of paper. If we stack that, that would be about 667 feet tall. And they ended up kind of making that comparisons to some iconic buildings in Philadelphia. That they also, there were other infographics like looking at the cost of a gallon of printer ink versus a gallon of milk. And they had other, taking that data, creating other messages that they posted throughout the school to really make a change. And the campaign was think before you print. The money saved in that 31% drop allowed the school to actually purchase paper that was made from recycled paper. As we know, unfortunately, that's still a little more expensive than the virgin paper, but it ended up being cost neutral because it was all, they were able to then purchase recycled paper. So the collecting and tracking data is super important. Next, please. Tip 3, starting small, the snowball effect. So I have paper napkins here, and the school, again, part of the reducing waste campaign, the school had, you could grab as many paper napkins as you wanted to. And we looked at kind of making some small changes by even actually purchasing individual napkin dispensers. Next slide, please. And yeah, so I think the cost of the dispensers was something like, I don't know, $20, $25. It wasn't super expensive. But by doing that, where you have to pick one at a time, the school ended up cutting its paper use in half and saving $2,700 of in money of not purchasing that, saving in a reduction of their paper napkin purchasing. And so again, next, if you click on Ava, so that also allowed that cost neutral savings to make sure the napkins were from recycled paper content. And then there's one more example. If you click on, this is also one school we worked with, had the individual napkin dispensers at the tables, and replacing that kind of York Better For You ad, the students actually made their own signs that they were able to slip in the kind of the sleeve of the paper napkins, messages like "these come from trees" or "think before you use." So again, like these small changes can really have some impactful positive changes. Next, please. So the fourth tip is tell your story. So I'm going to tell a story using a case study of Reading Senior High School in Berks County, and their goal was to reimagine the courtyard. And so we worked with them, and we took them through the 7-step process. They wanted to start by being an eco school, and they're now moving on towards wanting to be a green ribbon school. So next slide, please. So we used, again, the 7-step process, which we had a green team of the students and faculty members and different folks from the school, and we met monthly. We collected the data. I'll show you from the auditing the existing. So the school has a internal courtyard that is really large, but has not been used. It was locked up. It was full of litter, and it was a really big space kind of in the heart of the school, but nobody was using it. So I'll show you quickly some examples of, like, they collected an audit of the existing conditions. We developed an action plan of the changes. We monitored the progress, and then I'll give some examples of how we linked it to the curriculum and involved the community and then celebrated. So next, please. So here is the school is just the students in the in environmental science are just doing an audit inside the courtyard, and there you can see behind the teacher on the left, there's some boarded up windows. They're just sort of kind of looking what's there. There was a pond that was polluted. They're looking at kind of like what the area is, and again, looking at the soil, looking at the infiltration system. And so they were just getting a baseline. Next, please. We did an action plan where the students decided to, let's have a survey to kind of gauge general awareness that there's a courtyard. What would you like to see if we were going to be transforming it? What's your impressions? And so based on the survey, students imagined a pollinator garden, raised beds, compost bin made out of recycled pallets. They wanted a outdoor learning space. They also wanted kind of a vertical wall with those pallets as well. just kind of like in a space, just, adding more native plants. So we had an action plan, and next slide. So this is the before. Yes, there's some, again, I want to note that the boarded up windows and kind of, just again, kind of sad. And I will show you over time. Next slide. So there were invasive plants in the courtyard. The students learned about invasives, and then we had them removed, really taking it down to the dirt there. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, they wanted an area for an outdoor learning space. So the tiles in the left were actually upcycled roof tiles from from a nearby elementary school that Reading High School was able to repurpose as part of their hardscaping. So in part of the area, they have a hardscaped area based on, upcycled roof tiles. So they did not have to spend any money on purchasing the hardscaping. And next, please. So planted native plants, they had grants through Lowe's and DEP. Those teachers are opening up some of the items the goodies that they got through the grants. And we also had in April during Earth Month, we had kind of an announcement of what the changes that were happening at the school before the courtyard was going to be even opened, just to build excitement around the courtyard. Next, please. So ties to the curriculum here. So it wasn't just all science. The art teacher said, I'd love to have my students go ahead and create murals for the boarded up areas. So part of that April event that where we had to build excitement, we also had in the gym, the students could do a lot of different hands-on activities relating to the courtyard. And one of that, this is from the classroom, of course, but students could also during this event paint some of the murals as well. So ties to the curriculum with art as well. Next, please. So here is the after. I mean, it's now gotten much more lush and green. So with money from the grants, there are some bird feeders, there are some bird houses. You can see some native plants against the wall there, planters. They were able to fix the pond and a new filter. And as I said, there's the hardscaping area as well. As I mentioned, composting. And the next slide, please. So the furniture was made by just down the street. There was Muhlenberg Reading Career and Tech School. And so working with the high school students at Reading, the teacher said, we'd like to have certain kinds of long tables and individual stools. So we gave kind of the sketches to the carpentry teacher at the Career and Tech. So the students at Career and Tech built the furniture. And it was really great to kind of have the collaboration of both schools. And so we were also able to keep the cost down there as well, because the students made customized furniture. And so the school was really able to celebrate in May, all of the kind of have a grand courtyard opening. And so that's kind of back to the telling your story, making sure that you get that word out and publicize that. So next, please. So just in summary, the 4 tips to lead change, I mentioned creating a sustainability green team with many folks from different areas and departments of your school, and find out where their passion and their expertise is, and kind of, you can lead with where that energy is from the folks on the green team. Number 2, as I mentioned, the really important part of collecting and tracking data to get the benchmark. I forgot to mention, at the end of, when you're accomplishing your goal, it's good to then also go back and collect the data to see, oh, we were able to reduce waste by X%, just like you saw in Donnan's. The Park Forest and Elementary had all the kind of the metrics of how they were able to reduce composting and recycling, et cetera. Number 3, start small, the snowball effect, because that will, as you start small with the achievable, winnable goals, then that really builds, and then more folks take on other projects, like that IT person example with the printer waste. And then 4th, make sure you tell your story to to promote all the great things that are happening. And then just to wrap things up, the next slide, lessons learned. So if you are starting or leading change at your school, if you're the person who's kind of managing that, you want to, number 1, check your ego at the door. It's really about the group effort. That the schools that are most successful at leading change are led by the sustainability director or volunteer that really wants to just kind of like just listen to the group, and it's really about the group. Number 2 is being generous with praise. So even if you end up doing maybe 80% of the work and somebody's doing 5 or 10%, you want to still be generous with and publicly praise those folks, because then again, that builds with other people wanting to really they're motivated to kind of really want to participate. I show your love with food. So for meetings, we really encourage to have like a low waste, just some good food, some snacks. Number 4, talk less, listen more. Again, like just a lot of listening in terms of what the group wants to do. Number 5, use humor. And I think in that case, whether it's like people that are trying to make change, if you have a campaign, I'll again use the campaign of reducing waste. People don't respond to the finger wagging. It's more of the, how can you kind of have a message that you're actually, if you can use humor, it's great, or keeping it lighter, or again, who is the messenger? If it's coming from students, sometimes that can be more impactful than just the adults in the room. And then again, number 6, really celebrate your success. And so that's the lessons learned. And I think the last slide should just be my contact information. So, so thank you. And I guess we're now going to open it up. I'll turn it over to Ava and to Shannon. I believe we're going to turn it over to some questions. I think we just have a few minutes left.
Yes, thank you for that great presentation, and the rest of our panelists as well. So yeah, like Marianne said, we will now open it up to the audience to ask any questions. Again, feel free to raise your hand, unmute yourself, put it in the chat, whatever you feel most comfortable with.
Well, Shannon, I don't have a question, but I did want to say that just from everyone else's presentations, I feel like I learned a little bit today too, just at some of the things going on that Donnan had said, that Marianne had said, just some of these things that I think I could take. And in my field, I don't necessarily, I don't deal with the curriculum as much, but some of the initiatives that have been done, I feel like it would be valuable anywhere. It's not necessarily just one school or another. So I just thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. I know I really loved I think it was Donnan's presentation of the like rainbow recycling. Like that's something when I was in college, I worked really closely with the sustainability department on campus, and teaching college kids how to recycle was like herding cats. It just wasn't happening. And I mean, every year, like we would have meetings, it'd be like, okay, do we make it part of the freshman orientation? Do we like require them to take a class on it? And it's really hard when, you have all these different people coming from different places where they recycle things differently. And then you come to a new place and there's new rules, like the infrastructure isn't there, so on and so forth. So I really love the idea of having it very color coded and multiple bins for things. So, your cans are going here, your napkins are going there. And again, if a first grader can do it, anyone can do it. So I really liked that.
So there was a question in the group in the chat there from Lorna Rosenberg. What is the biggest challenge to getting to sustainability? What is the craziest story that helped you achieve success? And I think probably Donnan could probably speak to this a lot. And I could just say, for me, it's culture, because it's easy for us just to physically do it and to lead that charge, but to get the buy-in. So it's so like I said, the 20 years down the road, are these things still in place now? Did we get people to buy in? And it's the train the trainer piece, getting that next level. So I mean, Donnan, if you want to jump in there, I'm sure you have a story.
Yeah, I don't know why my picture won't show up, but anyway, I'll be glad to have Sean be there. I think that, well, in the video you saw the paper towel thing. So we saw that we shared a video of a TED Talk called Shake and Fold. And it's a really great one. It's this guy, Smith, who shows kids how to shake and fold and talk about paper towels. And so then when the K1 classes decided to count all the paper towels and figure out how many were in a box and how many they would share. And so when they shared that in front of the school and the kids saw how many paper towels that we were using and how many paper towels, we could reduce, it blew everybody's mind. And so you saw kids standing at the restroom, shaking their hands, pulling out one paper towel, and just tremendously reduced the amount of paper. And it was just fun. The other fun thing that we did to help with sorting, Shannon, was that we in the morning stood in the lobby and we had kids come, we had buckets there, and we had kids come and sort things that we had on the table so that they could see whether where those belonged, and we helped them think about it. So kids had fun with it, and we did that several days in a row. So there was a little practice and all those things of giving kids steps.
I actually have a question. So something that I've heard in the space with different initiatives like this is like, oh, okay, well, we have to wait until the first of the year or, after the break. Like, how would you respond to someone who wants to do this work but has that response? And this is for anyone.
I would say you just keep going. I mean, our kids kept coming up with the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And that's the power of having representatives from homerooms and kids that were willing to give up their time. And, you don't need to wait. And so every year built on the next year. And so we would hear from parents about how they're recycling at home. And, so that was the carryover was not just stopped. It didn't stop at school. It went out all over the place, so that it was just awesome to hear parents talk about how their kids were making them recycle at home. So
I think it's a little bit too, just to kind of developing a plan for it, kind of what Mary Ann touched on. So almost every single school out there is doing some form of recycling or some form of, it being environmentally conscious. So, but if you're trying to look and make a big impact, you almost want to step back, kind of create a team who's going to drive this, look at what you're doing, and then, okay, what are our goals? What do we want to do? And then, so it's not necessarily, it should never really just be a starting point, because if you haven't done anything up to this point, but building that kind of agenda and kind of planning it out, and you want to get people that are bought in. That needs to be your core team, and then they can help you build that team out. So it's really kind of just assessing what you're currently doing and how you can build on it. So,
and I would just.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mary Ann.
Oh, I just was going to add, kids can be impatient, right? Because if you're in third grade and things aren't, you have to wait a whole year. That's a long time. So I think that's, just using the energy of where the kids are, whether it's the middle of the year or, that's totally fine. And again, I can't emphasize enough, like starting small, even if they decide they want to like rehaul the cafeteria. Well, that's a big job. But starting small with like, well, what could we do just to get started? So I think that's, again, back to like where the passion is, and who wants to kind of, continue to announce like what are the changes that you want to make as well.
The other
One of the,
sorry, Tammy. The other powerful thing I would add is that our kids were constantly pushing us. They were saying, well, if they're collecting our waste 5 times a week and we're not filling the waste, shouldn't we be getting money back? You know, can't they reduce when? And so, you know, we went to the kids went to the director of physical plant. I invited Ed to come. And he said, I'll talk to the company, and they reduced our fees. That was in the video. And, you know, they were pushing us. They wanted it to see it get better and better and better.
So one of the things that I would say is, if you have to wait for some kind of physical activity, work on tweaking it into the curriculum, getting the student buy-in, making it a whole part of a literacy experience, environmental literacy experience, or a MIWI. The kids will find their place. They will do the research with the help from adults, but let the kids drive it. And on that sustainability committee, have the kids identify community partners. They might recommend a parent, they might not. They might recommend someone else. But if you get the community in on it, it's amazing how suddenly money that wasn't there just appears.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I really want to promote is the fact that there are grants across the state through which you can get seed money, as long as it has to do with environmental education. Now, we're a little bit late right now for the Department of Environmental Protection's grant, unless you can write something like in the next 20 minutes, which is impossible. But I've seen people try to do it, and I've read some grants. Don't do that. But look for funding like that. There's things like Captain Planet or something like that.
Planet, yes.
There are EPA grants if your school's in an environmental justice area where you can partner with people. There's the Pisces. There's lots of environmental funding grants out there. The other thing is, don't feel like, I've said this before, don't bite off more than you can chew, because then you'll freeze. And one of the things that we're doing in Pennsylvania is trying to reward people for the little steps. So if you apply to Pennsylvania just for one of the pillars, and you have met those pillars, you get a small award to continue some work. It could cover classroom materials. It could, it's supposed to go towards, you know, this is the essence of the project, okay? But for each level, you receive a certain award. And then if you put it all together and you have a big enough package that you can be nominated for the state level award, you get another level of award. And then if you do win it from Pennsylvania, you get another award. You don't get it from Department of Ed US, you get it from the Pennsylvania Department of Ed. And these little pieces can help seed you along. The other thing that we're trying to work on is developing a mentor program. So watch for things about that in the near future, because Women for a Healthy Environment will likely be a sound partner with PDE for that if we can keep things moving. So, yeah.
I feel like that's a great way to conclude this panel. Thank you for tying it all back together, Tammy. Appreciate that. So thank you all so much for taking time to share your experience and expertise in working in the school setting. And just thank you also to our audience members who have been here since 8:30 this morning. Thank you all so much for joining us. So as we may know, children spend over 1,000 hours a year in schools, and yet the average age of a public school building is 40 years old, which can result in a lot of the environmental hazards that we talked about addressing in our earlier panels today, and other environmental exposures that, again, risk giving our children long-term health problems. And this is why the work of environmental health experts and advocates, as well as educational personnel, that we've heard about here today is so essential to ensuring a healthy, clean, happy future for many future generations. If you're curious about how to get more involved in the effort to reimagine education and ensure healthy schools are accessible to all, we encourage you to check out the organizations, schools, and foundations our panelists throughout today have represented, and also to visit our website, of course, at womenforhealthyenvironment.org or healthyschoolspa.org. We are so grateful to everyone here who's working in this space to provide not only the gift of education, but also ensure a healthy and sustainable future for our children. Environmental health organizations like we could not do it without you. So thank you so much. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Shannon for her final remarks to conclude and round out this wonderful day of really exciting conversation. So thank you again, panelists, for being here.
Thank you, Ava. Yeah, I'll make my remarks quick since we've been here a long time, but I really just want to take this time to share my gratitude for a few different groups. I first want to reiterate my appreciation to Phil Johnson, who was here this morning from the Heinz Endowment, for their support and the work that we've been able to do in Pittsburgh and across the community and in Southwest PA. I also want to thank all of our speakers who joined us today and the time that they took to prepare and just be part of our summit, and for them to share their knowledge and expertise on these various health topics. They spent a lot of time not only creating these PowerPoints, but also meeting with us before a few times to make sure everything technically went well and that the flow made sense and everything like that. So we're just very appreciative of that. And I also want to thank them not only for the work that they did to prepare for the summit, but also for the work that they're doing in this space and the impact that it has on our youth, because they are our future. I also want to thank the participants who joined us today that came here online, excited to learn, to discuss and ask questions. This information is so valuable and important, and it's great to have some time on this Friday morning and afternoon to talk about these various topics and converse and learn and ask questions, and continue just working towards having a safer and healthy learning environment for our kids. And this topic is especially near and dear to my heart because I have 7 nieces and nephews, all of, almost school age. So when I do this work and, I'm thinking about curriculum or, just how kids would react, I always, think of them and think, okay, would this work for this one? And, how would they react? Would they like it? So sometimes they're my guinea pigs. I also want to thank Ava for all of her help with the planning of this. We've spent a lot of evenings and mornings together, and she's just been really helpful with, the technical side of things and promoting the event as well. I also want to thank Michelle for her support and just helping us organize this all and giving us the time and space and resources. And so yeah, in conclusion, we've had a really big day full of speakers and great speakers and conversation. And we just really hope that everyone is feeling more hopeful and knowledgeable and just inspired to make a change in their school environment. And so something that we've been doing at WE recently is we've been at the end of like a big meeting or a big discussion, we've been taking a couple minutes just to say one word about how we're feeling, or like 2 words, a short phrase. So I just want to take like a moment or two to do that. Feel free to put that word in the chat, unmute yourself. I'll start out as an example. I'm feeling very grateful, again, for our speakers, for our guests who came, and just very, very appreciative. So I see that we're feeling, all these words, I love it. Motivated, rejuvenated, resourceful, optimistic, inspired, happy hour. I'll join you, Sean. Never too early for that. Hopeful, inspired, yes. Energized, yay, that's what we wanted. We really just, you know, like what Molly talked about this morning, we don't want these topics to be surrounded by dread and fear, and for you guys for everyone to get on these meetings and go, oh, we have to talk about this again. You know, we want to talk about the good work that we're doing because there's so much good work happening in our community. So,
And we're here to help. And we're here to help.
Yes, I think I can speak. I know I can speak for myself, and I think on behalf of all the panelists that if there's something you want to ask someone here, whether it's now or, you know, in the future, like we're all here to help and share the knowledge. So thank you all again for your participation in the 6th annual Healthy School Summit, and we will see you next year at our 7th annual summit. And be on the lookout for a jot form to rate your experience of today's summit. And we will also be sending out some information about the Act 48 credits if you signed up for that. So be on the lookout for that. And we just hope that you have a great weekend and enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you so much, everyone.
Happy holidays. Enjoy your time off.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.